Dignitaries on the dais, generals, admirals, air marshals, all the members of the strategic community, friends from the media. It's a pleasure and honor to be on this Global Dialogue Security Summit uh, with the theme Securing India's Neighborhood. It's a interesting theme because we have been talking of Indo-Pacific, we have been talking of what kind of challenges, opportunities exist, and we are talking of how India figures into this neighborhood. Let me begin by saying that India very consciously has been pursuing a policy of ensuring a peaceful neighborhood. And therefore, what you see in terms of actions on this is as to what happened in May 2014 when the government, while taking oath, invited all the leaders from SAARC to be present at the oath-taking ceremony, something which has not happened earlier. And the aim was to send a signal, look here, we are starting afresh, and we are starting with a resolve that neighborhood matters to us. And we would like a greater linkage, greater leverage, greater friendship with our neighborhood. We have followed that policy right from that time onwards and ensured that neighborhood is our first priority. Having said this, we are also aware that there are challenges in our neighborhood, challenges which I would term as bordering on what is supportive of terrorism, certain areas where we have discord on our land boundaries, and in the recent times there have been a test in terms of how our neighbors amongst themselves have had differences where India had to step in as a friend. These are challenges which have tested our resolve in ensuring that our friendliness, our good offices, our goodwill is tested. The Rohingya crisis which had an effect on the relations between Bangladesh and Myanmar, with a certain amount of fallout in India. And that is where you find that India provided assistance to both our neighbors, prodding them to find a solution to a problem where India would assist them in settling the refugees who had come to Bangladesh, as well as allowing Myanmar to take steps where we could assist them in taking back the people who had migrated from there. We have also deepened and strengthened our links as part of our Act East policy with institutional arrangements with ASEAN. And you saw that this year we had the 10 heads of state from ASEAN who came for the summit to India as part of our 25-year engagement with ASEAN. We also had more teeth given to BIMSTEC, more importance given to BIMSTEC to pursue agendas towards our east. And we have generally ensured that whatever little differences that persisted with some of our neighbors have been taken care of. All this with the aim that neighborhood matters to India, a peaceful neighborhood guarantees better economic progress and development in India, and a peaceful neighborhood is in the interest of both the neighbors and India. When I talk of our Act East policy, we have acted on it in a manner in which we can deepen our links which existed earlier with all our eastern neighbors. You all are aware that historically India has been having a continental outlook. It has never had a global outlook. And that is why you find that India has generally remained within its own borders, not venturing out aggressively anywhere. Yes, our culture, our religion, our soft power has reached many places in the East. You do find Indian temples right up to Vietnam. You do find in the White Horse Temple in China, where the Buddhist scriptures were taken from India. We have had our cultural outreach, which was far and wide. But otherwise, when you talk of projection of power, we have had a continental outlook. And I think that is likely to prevail, because history does shape how you are going to behave in the future. If that be the case, what do we look at in our neighborhood? Neighborhood is one part, which is immediate neighborhood. Our extended neighborhood is right up to ASEAN and all our friends there. And on our western side, we have West Asia, which has certain instabilities which can impact us in the long run. IORA and Indo-Pacific needs to be debated and understood in correct perspective. And I'm sure when the panels take place, when you all discuss, these two issues will come up. How do you deal with IORA, with which we have had engagements for a very long time? How do we plug in into the so-called Indo-Pacific? Is Indo-Pacific purely trade and commerce and economics, or is it much more? If it is much more, then what is it? Who all are going to be partners in it? And does Indo-Pacific only imply Western Pacific? Or does it also mean what the General said just some time back, right up to the fringes of the US? I think we need to debate this and come to certain conclusions which will add to some more clear thinking on this subject. Today, in terms of threats that exist, there are threats which are non-traditional, threats which are of terrorism, threats which are at times raising heads because of certain religious tones given to it. That's why you do find certain groups which come up into our eastern neighborhood saying that they owe allegiance to ISIS. Some of them have been subdued. Certain areas have become more peaceful. Certain areas are still fighting certain amount of terrorist activity or religio-terrorist activities. In all this, what is going to be our role? I think we need to debate this as part of our discussions that will carry on. Today, while the world is in more disruption and my throat is bad, so don't worry. Actually, when you visit your constituencies, that throat does become bad. That's a hazard of being in politics. The world is in a state of disruption and flux. At the same time, we have got great many opportunities that have come up, which need to be made use of. And these opportunities are in terms of how a lot of people are converging onto certain ideas of strategy. Indo-Pacific being one. A lot of people are converging onto this idea. Why are they converging onto this idea? Is it only because a very large amount of trade passes through these two oceans? Disruption of this trade will make a difference to both the energy and the other needs of the countries here? Or is it the fear of domination by somebody which can influence this region? Is that domination the predominant factor, or is it only a sideline issue? I think we need to look at it, because I feel if we do not clearly enunciate what this implies, then we will go wrong. Today, when the US appears to become more insular, appears to be taking care more of fortress US, what are our expectations when we talk of Indo-Pacific? Is it going to be left to the regional security arrangements? Is it going to be left to how the various nations come together to look at their own interest and the regional interest? Or is it going to have a global factor in terms of what is injected into it? Where are the trade wars going to lead you? I think these are some of the questions that come to mind when we look at this issue. One more thing which we need to look at: how active will be our cooperation in the region? Whether it is looking towards the Indian Ocean rim countries, or it is looking at the Western Pacific to be more specific, how much cooperation are we going to get into? Is this cooperation going to be in terms of catering for security threats, and what type of threats? From whom? My feeling is that some of the countries that we talk of, which are seen today as disruptors, I think they require much more engagement to assure them that what they are looking at in terms of attention will come to them. And maybe we can wean them away, like what is happening with North Korea today. North Korea feels that it had a certain threat hanging, and therefore it was pursuing a particular path. Why is this change around coming in the North Korean mindset? What is it? I think we need to look at it very seriously. My feeling is that a young man of 30, if he has to achieve an aim of reunification when he is nearing 60s, needs to pursue more vigorous and better economic policies so that he can make his country stronger economically, more developed, that he can pursue the reunification. I'm leaving a question with you. Is that the case? I don't know. Maybe you can debate that. There are many issues which I think there's a very, I consider it as a very important dialogue mechanism where we can discuss a lot of things. We have got many experts in all the fields who can come to various issues that they have in their mind, and maybe we can question them on as to what and why of it. My feeling is securing India's neighborhood is not only important, but in today's circumstances, we need to look at our extended neighborhood as to what we can do so that we are able to provide necessary support, necessary developmental assistance, and necessary wherewithal to our regional partners, which will allow them to come together with us in ensuring that Indo-Pacific remains a zone of peace. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.